What do we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Right?
Right.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. And by everyone, I mean Dave and Deb and Ashley. We're here for the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for November 14th. Everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Let's, before we go to you, David, let's jump to item number 3 on the agenda, which is the application of 50 Wharton Drive LLC for an area variance. We received an email, I believe, from the applicant indicating that he wants us to adjourn this matter. Is that correct?
Till next month.
Till next month. So I'll leave it up to the board. I'm recusing myself on this, so it's up to you guys.
Do we make a motion? Is that,
Make a motion to adjourn, yeah.
I don't see any problem with that, do you?
I do not. I would move that we adjourn the meeting, to the case until next month.
I'll second that.
That'd be December 12th.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Show it 3-0. It's adjourned. Dan absent.
Okay, so
Howard
did I have it right?
absent.
You made the motion, John?
I did.
Okay.
I seconded.
Yeah, that part I got.
And Paul abstained. Okay. Next item. Application of Shakima Creek for an area variance from the table of district use and bulk regulations, SR 20 zoning district, construction of a rear and front addition to a single-family residence which is damaged by fire, as well as an area variance for pool setback and allowable floor area ratio. The property is identified as section 222, block 1, lot 9 on the tax map and is known as 37 Stowe Road. Mr. Namato.
This back, so. Okay, well, I'm back before the board as requested 2 months ago. You know, I realized we weren't at the last meeting, was to do a further research into the history of the property. So we did that, and it did reveal the 1962 survey that shows this lot. In my opinion, it shows 2 property lines that are new to form this lot from the surrounding properties. However, as was brought up by, we referred it to the building department. They are not in favor of it because it does not denote a subdivision on the survey. I'm going to ask the board for a few things. One, I would ask the board if they would just reconsider that because some of the evidence is obvious. I mean, we demonstrated an annexation map from the town of Monroe to the village of Monroe that had all vacant land at that time. We showed a sketch that was to scale of the property and how far into the annexed land it definitely was situated. And now we have this 1962 survey which shows the property delineated with what I believe is 2 new property lines. In addition, the 1962 survey actually does reveal something else. It reveals that there was an addition added onto this property somewhere during the course of events through the years. Because if you look at the 1962 map or survey, it's basically a rectangle with a bump out towards the front. But in recent years, the recent surveys actually show the rectangle with that bump out in the front, but also a 10 by 20 bump out in the back that exists. That's not part of our additions. If you look at our C1 plan, you'll see that footprint, and that was from a recent survey that was done by Ronald Knowlton of Lankin Tully. So the reason why I bring that up is because prior to our submission, including that addition, the FAR was not met already. It was already a pre-existing non-conforming condition. The FRA calculations that were given, it's 0.18 of the 14,800, which yields a 2,665 square foot FAR. The original house was consistent with that. But now the original house with that addition towards the back actually supported our calculations, and that's where the difference was between our determinations from the building department letter to ours. Because with that bump out in the back, or that addition in the back, which is approximately 10 by 20, which yields a 400 square foot FAR, you add that to the existing 2008, comes to 3,012 square feet. 3,012 of an FAR, and that's what I had presented to the board in our calculations earlier. And I know this is getting very tedious, and I'm sorry about that. But to reiterate, based on 312 square feet with the original house footprint and the addition added in the back prior to our submission, the FAR would come to 0.2, which exceeds the current FAR requirement of 0.18. So with our proposed of 0.29, we are requesting a variance in the FAR of 0.09. And I believe it's a reasonable request. The house is going to be transformed into something that looks better. It meets the requirements of the new owner. They have an opportunity to increase the value of the house because of its current condition. They could build and do something new that would be tailored to the family and meet the needs of the family. And I'm hoping the zoning board would see the reasonableness in that 0.09 variance request. And also, I think it was evident at the meeting 2 months ago, we all agree that this law is burdensome at best, and it really restricts the properties in the area. And right now, we're in a betwixt situation because I believe it's even currently being re-examined, by the village board, and may go into another decision or things like that. So whatever decision you can make tonight in favor of the variance, I won't even set a precedent for other projects. And we would ask that the board just recognize the reasonableness of it and allow us to have the variance.
Did we, I don't think we advised him that we only have the 4 board members. Maybe it's just obvious.
If you need to make it formal, I understand.
Okay.
But yeah, I realize that you don't have a full.
Have the option to postpone to when we have 5 members, if you
No,
wish.
this project's been going on. The family, they need to, they need to do
We
something.
need a resolution.
And we need to move it along. And they did the due diligence. I've made myself a popular figure at Orange County, at the title search, trying to research maps and everything in the area. I thank the building department with finding the annexation maps, and with everything, thank the title company for finding this 1962 survey. Everything is presented before you. Now, we're here for the variance. I mean, every project before you is here for a variance of the zoning code. That's the nature of this presentation. We definitely submit that a 0.09 variance to the FAR zoning is reasonable, and ask that you grant it to us, or to the family.
Okay. Thank you, David. Any questions by any of the board members? All right, well, I'll kick this off. I mean, I've thought about this a lot over the last few months. I've looked at the property. I've driven past the property many, many times. I don't think that increasing the FAR is going to be out of character with that neighborhood. You've got a Sacred Heart across the street. You've got The other church right
St.
next door.
Paul's.
You've got the golf course 2 houses over. I don't see this being out of character, out of scale with the neighborhood. I've looked at the house many, many times. I pictured an addition on the right side of that house and what it would look like. The house is sort of odd-shaped with that long slanted roof. Let me just pull up these plans again. And look at the elevations.
Can I see that picture? Do you mind? Thank you so much.
So that's one side, and here's the other side of the house. This is when there were still trees in the front before it was converted to a parking lot. I think the house looks nice. I think it's gonna blend in the area. I don't think it's out of scale, and I don't have any problems granting the FAR variance, nor do I have any problems granting the setback variance to the pool.
Thank you.
So that's my feelings about it. So I'll leave it to the other board members,
Yeah.
to debate it and share their feelings, their opinions.
I mean, I think the first thing we ought to establish is which FAR law is in effect now. And I think it's the newer one, is it not?
I don't know, is there a new one? I know they repealed that section with regard to
The subdivision.
it being shown on a subdivision map.
Right, that's what I
recorded
mean.
prior.
Right.
So but I think that's irrelevant, right?
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, David asked us whether or not we could support the determination that it was in a subdivision at the beginning of his remarks. And I think the answer is, it just doesn't matter anymore because the law has changed.
Correct.
So while, you know, I understand that it may have cost you lots of donuts down at, in Orange County to get this documentation, and, you know, I understand the request, because the law has changed, it's just not possible to exempt a project from FAR law on the basis of its having been in a subdivision anymore. That's, I think, the first thing that we've got to resolve. So then that leaves the variance. And there was a clause in the new law that basically, if one were to interpret, said that the village board requests that we, the zoning board, interpret any request for variance from the FAR law by, I think, by referring very carefully to the rationale for having established the original FAR constraints. So I think the way that we could read that is that they ask that we be rather strict in adhering to the specifics of the restraints within the FAR law.
Well, I'll answer that one back before you even go on.
Yeah.
The village board can ask whatever they want. They can put in
Right. Well-
legislation, whatever they want.
Right.
We're a zoning board of appeals. We're totally independent from the village board. We're not beholden to the village board. We have state law that we go by.
Yep.
We looked at, the factors in making our determination, and we do a balancing act.
Right,
That's what we need to focus on, not what, he's here asking for a variance.
right, right. Yeah, I understand that,
And-
Paul, and that's where I was gonna go next, is that does not override state law.
Absolutely
And
not.
we can grant a variance if we so choose. But then, I think we have to, look at the tests that we always apply. And what worries me about, David's request is it a substantial variance from what the FAR law would grant him. And as I recall the numbers last time, and the plan hasn't changed any, the plan is substantially above what the FAR law would grant.
.09.
Well, I think it kind of depends on the way you looked at it. I think we were looking at it in terms of square feet the last time. And I think my feeling, I should just speak for myself, my own feeling was that it was a substantial variance.
Well, that's why I brought up about the addition.
Well,
Not the
explain that to
newly-
me again, David, because I
So
didn't get it.
if you look at the 1962 survey, you'll see a rectangle with a bump out in the front.
Yeah,
Okay.
saw that.
If you look at the survey that Lincoln Tully did, which was recent, you'll see an addition in the back.
Yeah,
When you add the square footage of that addition in the back,
yeah.
it is consistent with the calculations that we had brought up 2 months ago, not with the building department determination. So that's why I restated the calculations, because I couldn't figure out how could one number be at
Oh, wait, wait, wait.
2,600 and where
Let me
it
ask you a question. Do you
Sure.
mean to say that you believe that the building department made its calculations based on the 62 footprint of the thing? And not with the addition in the back involved? Is that what you're telling me?
That's what the numbers seem to say.
Okay, wait a minute. We're lucky to have a member of the building department on hand. Deb?
Sorry, I was looking up one other possible monkey wrench that we might have, but what was the question?
Well,
There's another law that might affect this that was passed last time too, so, but we'll get to that. What was the question?
okay, so David's looking at the 62 map, which doesn't show this addition on the back of the property.
Yeah.
And he's wondering, is it possible that the calculations that the building department did to determine, whether or not this plan violated the FAR law were done on the basis of the 62 footprint, which didn't have this addition on the back? So, what can you tell us about how you went about those calculations?
We took his plan. We calculated FAR based on your building plan that you submitted with the building permit.
Right, and you have to compare that to something, right?
Well, it just didn't, what he proposed to build on that lot
Right.
exceeded FAR.
Yes. Oh, we agree with that.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's how we calculated.
But I'm saying that the current,
There
the
wasn't
most
one.
recent, no, but the most recent survey actually shows that the house was in violation of FAR right now, even before we proposed it.
Probably was. By itself, if it didn't burn down, it probably exceeded FAR.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably did.
Right, okay,
Oh.
but that's all right,
But
because,
that's pre-existing,
right,
non-conforming.
Right.
Which leads me to another issue.
right.
Maybe Ashley can look up over there, because I can't see on my phone. But the village board adopted another law about not expanding the existing non-conforming properties, uses, buildings.
That's right.
Yeah, not even.
But now that is newer still.
That's completely separate from this, and I haven't reviewed this particular house as to this new law. We were just reading this new law today and trying to understand it, but
It is, yeah, what I mean is that the new law is newer yet than the revision to the FAR law,
they were
isn't it?
adopted the same time.
It was the same time,
Same day, yeah. Right? Yeah.
okay.
Which was just,
Do
what,
you
2
have
weeks
the
ago?
law number for that?
2 weeks ago. What's it, no, I'm on the,
I can't help it.
yeah, adopted amendment of chapter 200 to regulate pre-existing non-conforming law.
No, I don't think it really matters for the purpose of our hearing, because we
No.
don't have a determination on it,
Right, he
and,
didn't apply for that because it didn't exist when he applied,
right.
but just so you understand, it exists now. So I
Well,
don't,
but if they grant the variance, we're,
that's for far.
Yeah, that would be for far, but it,
Oh, you're saying potentially another variance might be needed for,
Right, which was not around when he applied here. They're not around when we did our initial review. They just passed this 2 weeks ago.
so I do think for purposes of tonight, if the board wants to continue reviewing the two variances, the FAR and the pool setback, and then when you have a chance to look at this law to see if potentially there's something else, then I think you'll have to,
It would have to be a new
Apply
review.
for a new-
Right.
Be new review, a new application, so.
which is
but are they
unfortunate. I
exceeding,
mean,
so I know with the pre-existing non-conforming, are those being, any setbacks or anything like that
No.
being? Because I'm just reading this quickly, but I
But
don't
if
know.
if it already exceeded FAR, then it's pre-existing non-conforming, and it's any pre-existing non-conforming, and that is going up. So there's no change, you can't increase the non-conformity. They made that's always been a thing, but they made it more restrictive.
so the best,
But I
At
do
this
think with
point-
getting the variance, though, that should, if that's essentially what it's saying, then he'd still be able to get, so by getting a variance from the FAR, it might be covered already,
Maybe, I
but
don't know.
we'd have to look.
Yeah, I don't think this application, though, needs to be complicated
I understand
any
the
further
question,
by,
the option to amend it, I think to have them have to reapply, it's kind of a waste of money and time on their part, these people.
well,
that would be a
yeah,
shame.
we got,
yeah, but if he amends it, we've got to do a new public hearing notice,
I know. I'm
so
just
you-
throwing
it's,
it
it's,
out there.
it's, it's basically like a new application.
I don't wanna waste this time, I just wanna put it out there, because you guys can do whatever you do tonight, and then he's gonna come to us for a permit, we're gonna say, sorry, new law.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the best that David could get is his variance, but then he's back to the building department, and maybe he gets caught by this.
Right.
Right. And so- I wonder if it's better for him to revise his application to include the new law.
It's up to him.
we're not, I have to go back to these people with some news. I mean, they've been out of a house for, no fault of anybody's, but I mean, it's been a long time. You know, so we're here to request
I
your
don't-
decision, yeah.
I'm just saying, David, I don't see a path where you can get to shovel in the ground. I mean, well, maybe if the building department did not find that the new law applies, but that looks like a fraught.
I'd rather take the chance, I would,
Right.
you know, grant us the variance, and then we can, I want to use the word, but discuss that further with the building department, see if the law.
They just threw this in here, you know.
I mean, it's getting to the point where if you add a living room addition and it has a cathedral ceiling, you won't be able to do it, because you have to double the square footage to meet the farm. I mean, how burdensome can it be to live? I mean, that's just crazy constrictions.
Well,
All right, but
What do you
anyway,
think, though, but I think, because this is speaking about setbacks, they're saying, for example, if you had a pre-existing non-conforming front yard setback, and then you were building up, that would require a variance, where in the past it wouldn't have. But if that's not being, you know, if there's no setback, pre-existing non-conforming setback variances that are then being built up, I don't think,
Well, he is going up, so but we'd have to look.
at whether the setbacks, and I think,
We never did the up part before.
That's ridiculous.
I agree.
I don't even want to talk about it. I really don't, I don't even want to
I
talk
mean,
about
I
it.
just have a question, though. Isn't the whole point of the zoning board that we grant people variances from the laws?
Yes.
exactly.
So,
The question is, is he going to need another variance based upon this new law that was apparently adopted by the village board 2 weeks ago?
and nobody knows. Because
So-
it hasn't been evaluated.
Exactly. So I think we cross that bridge when we get to it, and I think we deal with the application that's before us right now, which is for 2 variances, one for a variance from the floor area ratio requirement of .18 to allow a floor area ratio of .29, and one for a setback from the pool of 15 feet to allow a 7.9-foot variance.
Thank you.
I think that's what we have to deal with. That's before us now.
Just a procedural matter as well, I believe your public hearing was still open, so if you want to close the public hearing at any point.
Well, let's just see if the board had any other questions before we do that. I see there's no members of the public, so I will open it to the public. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing's closed. Okay, now it's on to the application. So I'm going to make a motion, because I can't debate this anymore. I'm going to make a motion that we grant the variance to allow a floor area ratio of .29 and to allow a setback to the pool of .79 feet. I'm mindful of our standards that we have to follow.
Is it .71 or 7?
I think it's 7.9 feet, right?
7.9.
Sorry.
I think it's 7.1, the distance is 7.1, it's a variance of 7.9.
Correct.
Is that what it is?
Okay, okay.
Okay, I stand corrected. The granted variance of 7.1. I'm cognizant of our requirements under state law to weigh the benefits to the applicant to the detriment of the community. And in making that decisions, we look at our factors, and looking at the factors, number one, whether an undesirable change will reduce the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. Actually, you know what? Let me just make my motion first, and then we can go through that during discussion. So I have a motion to grant the variances. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a second by Elizabeth. Okay. Now let's go into our discussions. I don't think it's going to be an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. I don't think this is out of scale. As I indicated initially, you got Sacred Heart Church right across the street. You got St. Paul 2 houses down. You've got the golf course further up. I don't see this as being out of scale or out of place, and I don't see it producing any detriment to properties or creating any sort of undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. So I'm just going to go through my things, then you guys can
Yeah.
go through yours
That's a
here.
good idea.
Can the benefit be sought by the applicant by some other feasible alternative? Yeah, he can build a smaller house, but this is a situation where you had a fire, somebody comes in, they want to redo their house. They don't want to build back the same house. They want to improve it. I think it's a really nice improvement. I like the design. I like the looks of the house.
We
I
should
think
be
it's going to be a
encouraging
huge benefit to the area. And even though you may be able to build a smaller house, I'm going to go back, I don't see this as being out of scale, out of character with the neighborhood. So even though he may be able to achieve this by some feasible method other than a variance, I don't think what he's asking for is too massive, and I don't think it's going to change the character of the area. Is it substantial? Where we're going, the requirement's .18, this is .09, so it's technically 50%. So numerically, it's substantial, but as you indicated, it already exceeded the FAR, so it's not like we're doubling the requirement. The house was already non-conforming. And do we have a calculation of what it is now as a non-conforming condition versus what we're going to?
I do. I mean, I can repeat the numbers.
I think
I
you said
have
it was
it.
.2 now?
Yeah, we come up with right now, currently it's .2.
.2. Okay. So,
That's based on 3,012 square feet.
yeah, it's a bit substantial, but again, I don't think it's too massive. I don't think it's out of scale for the area, and I don't think it's gonna change the character of the neighborhood. I don't think it's gonna have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environmental condition of the neighborhood. And even though it is self-created, that's just one factor. And I think the decision to want to improve the house and improve the area to rebuild from this tragic fire that this family has suffered, I don't think it's an unreasonable request, as Mr. Lamontko pointed out. So, based upon those considerations, I'm in favor of the motion.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm thinking along with you there, Paul, as you work your way through the tests, and now I would say I agree that the proposal doesn't seem like it'd be out of character. Is there a feasible alternative? Well, I'm not even sure that I would say a smaller house is a feasible alternative. I mean, I suppose in a way it is, but it's completely different, solution to their, conundrum. So I'm not even sure they're, I think it's kind of an all or nothing thing, whether or not we, can allow them to go ahead there. Where I have trouble is the substantiality of the change. To look at it as 0.18 to 0.29 makes it sound rather minimal, but that is even more than 50% of a variance from the allowed ratio, and that strikes me as more than substantial. That strikes me as a very substantial variance, and I worry about granting such a large variance in the first application of this law in the zoning board. So, I mean, as I recall, when we looked at this in a square footage sort of way, the last time we had David here, the request was very far in excess of what FAR would allow. That is greatly in excess of what FAR would allow. I think what you're looking to go to 3,012, David? Do you recall what FAR would have permitted you in terms of square feet?
So,
I'm afraid I had it, but I've given that piece of paper to Rhonda.
FAR would have permitted 2,650, 2,665 square feet approximate.
Right.
That's at 0.18. The current house is at 0.20, which is 3,012 square feet. We're proposing
Right. The proposal is what, sorry?
4,420 square feet, which would equal 0.29. But John, I have to bring this point to your attention. Please know that of that 4,000 plus square feet that we're talking about,
Yeah.
I need a podium, please.
I think you've earned one.
520 square feet of it is air,
Yeah, I recall.
and 535 square feet of it is garage.
Yeah. And,
So that reduces it
You
to
know,
3,000 square feet of habitable
well,
space.
yeah, it would, but the trouble is, well, we kind of, you may recall, last time we had you here, we kind of went through the exercise
Yes.
of removing those objectionable parts.
Yes.
And yet, even if you do that, you still find that, you're facing I think, a rather large number of square feet in excess of what farm would allow. So, and by the way, I don't think we can. I
Let
don't
me
think
just
we-
understand
well,
that.
let me just finish this thought. I don't know that we can discount those things because the law just doesn't permit us to do
No,
that.
I'm asking you for a reasonable consideration of those
Right,
things.
right.
So I can't ask for more. Just for your reasonableness in considering that. They're paying for the floor above,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah,
a
which is
floor that
why
doesn't
I
exist.
think we went through that thought experiment to say, okay, let us imagine that we didn't, have that to deal with. But even when we did that, yeah, still, the request seems to be rather substantial from my, perspective. I don't know.
Well,
that-
actually,
Because the law demands that
actually,
that I
no.
grant the least variance, that I
Actually, John,
can.
if you take the 4,420 square feet of FAR right now and
Right.
eliminate the 1,100 square feet that we just discussed, you're packed down to a little over 3,000 square feet, which would be a .2 FAR. I mean, so I need to bring that to your attention. It's not still a substantial
Right, so you think it's 1,100 is the garage and the air,
and
as you
air, yeah.
call it.
Actually,
And so
to
then
be
you're looking at 3,220,
exact, it
Right.
was,
30,
no, it wasn't
320.
1,100, it was, jeez, 520 and 535, so 1,055.
Right, okay. So that gets you to 33, 65, and that's a fair bit more than the 2665 FAR would give you.
But what's the existing?
The existing
30,
is
3,012,
3,012.
2012.
right,
Okay. So that's existing.
yep.
Okay. So he should go to a smaller house? He should rebuild his house and make it smaller than what he has existing?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's,
If you take away the garage, you take away the dead air, I agree, they're not habitable spaces, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking about less than 350 square feet of habitable space that he's over. Over and above what he has now.
yeah,
So,
353 is what you're looking
Okay.
at above what he's got now.
Okay,
right?
so-
If you could subtract the air in the garage, which I don't know, that we really can do that. I went through that as kind of a thought
Well,
exercise with David, but I
no,
don't know
I understand that, but it's
yeah.
not a situation where you've got two levels and two floors that you're counting.
Yeah,
And you
I
have
know it.
habitable space on the first floor and habitable space on the
Yeah,
second
I
floor.
know it, and I think it's
So-
something that he might reasonably say to the village board, But they've given us what they've given us.
Right, and that's why he's here. That's why he's asking for this.
Yeah, okay.
Because he suffers a practical difficulty from
Yep.
complying with the zoning law as it's written,
Yeah.
because as it pertains to his situation. And that's what we're here to do. We're looking at the individual ad hoc basis. We can't compare this application to another application that might have 2 stories and might not have 500 square feet of air that we're counting in to his FAR. We're looking at a house that's on a major road, across from a school and a church. We're not talking about a
Yeah, well, I
house
don't
in a
think we're- I
residential
don't think-
neighborhood,
I
you know,
think
so.
so far, haven't heard anybody object to the change
Yeah.
to the character. I think that you're speaking to, would it harm the character of the neighborhood? I'm not saying it would. and I
Well,
don't
no,
have
no, I'm
anybody
saying,
say so.
I understand your idea that, you may consider it to be substantial
Yeah,
numerically.
yeah.
But when you look at the factors, we're talking about 350 square feet of habitable area over what currently exists. And I don't think that's a significant number practically, when you look at the totality of the circumstances. So, but again, I don't want to, let's keep going through. Why don't you
Yeah.
finish going through your factors?
Well,
We'll hear Elizabeth, we'll hear Jen.
Yeah, let me
and then-
just quickly work through or just, I don't even have too much to say about the others. Is there an environmental concern? I don't think so. Is it self-created? Well, sure, but almost everything is. My main worry is that it looks to me very substantial, and it's quite a precedent to set, and those things trouble me. That's my, the crux of my argument.
Elizabeth?
So I feel that there will not be an undesirable change in the neighborhood. I think this is an improvement to the house, and I think that's always good for a neighborhood, when you improve the house. Whether it can be solved by some other method, not really, because you are making it bigger and nicer. I think it's really crucial, this idea that it's, like you said, it's a cathedral ceiling. It's not really, I kind of, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I kind of feel like the floor area ratio wasn't really didn't have this in mind, that you couldn't have high, airy ceilings that are, spacious and nice, whether it's whether it's substantial, again, like it is substantial when you just look at the numbers, but when you look at the picture, to my mind, it's not that substantial. It's just a bigger ceiling. And whether it will have an adverse impact on the physical conditions of the environment of the neighborhood, it won't have any effect on that. And whether it's self-created, this is absolutely self-created. They're trying to do something bigger and better with their home. And I think we should encourage that. I think it's good when people invest in our community, and investing in homes is a way of investing in the community.
Elizabeth, I just want to say about the substantiality test, I don't know that we can judge that based on what a picture looks like. I mean, the substantiality test ought to be some kind of comparative,
Right.
right? And to me, the
It's a fair point.
comparison ought to be between what the law would permit and what the proposal is.
Right.
And, yeah, or some, maybe there's an alternative
Right.
comparison to make. So I don't know, I'm not sure that's the way to look at substantiality. That would be my only, appeal
It's
to
a
you.
fair point.
Jim?
I agree with what each individual has said up here. But I have to say that I agree with John in the sense that I'm worried about a precedent. You're a really nice guy, man, and you've come here and you've jumped through every hoop. But we're at a point in this village where we start moving the boundary, the next person's gonna come in, and then we're gonna have to fight about, well, it was air. I just don't think we should go down that road. That's my opinion.
Okay. So all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed to the motion indicate by saying nay.
Nay.
Nay. 2-2. Denied. Okay, thank you, David. Variance denied. Okay. Oh. They adjourned again, I'm sorry. Yeah, they adjourned again, so it's gonna be carried over till December 12th. Okay. Okay, Jim and John. All right, next item on the agenda is
John, I'll take
approval of
that
the
back.
minutes, which we still don't have, right?
No, we have.
Did I get the minutes?
September, I have a copy. John wants some corrections made, so I'm not sure we're gonna vote on it tonight anyway.
Okay. What about, did we get October's minutes?
Well, Well, we have October's minutes. I have not gotten through them myself.
It's October. Okay. Here's my comments to September.
If you'd like to give them to me.
No, I'm looking for them. I don't think I read them. Where did I get these? Here with my email. Okay. All right, well, I haven't read them, but if anybody
well,
else wants to
I have
move
not-
them,
I have not finished with them, so I would feel better if
I'd
we-
prefer to push them off. to
push them off.
December.
Jim, okay. So we'll hold off on the minutes of September 12th and October 10th, and we'll add them to the December agenda.
If anybody has any changes to either one of them, please, John's already given me his, but if you have them, you can give them to me. If not, email me, and I'll make those changes.
Just misplaced them again. Here they are. Okay. Let's see. Old business, any old business? Any new business? No new applications?
No new applications, but I did, we will be receiving, we have not yet, but we will be receiving a, because we're an interested agency for 208 for the DEIS, which is the draft environmental impact statement. There is a public hearing on November 28th for the planning board to hear it. There's a copy available in the village hall office, in the library, on the website, and if you'd like, I can send you those, copy of it as well. The ZBA hasn't, but we're gonna get it, like, I know he sent it, so we're gonna get it any day.
All right, this is, okay. This is for the planning board that's acting as lead agency.
Correct, yes.
And they need
Oh,
variances.
this is for 208.
Do they need
Oh,
variances?
Correct, 208. They have not applied for any of the variances. They're still working with the, because they can't until they pass the secret step. And this is, the draft DEIS is the document that will be heard by the public, have adjustments made, and they will pass or deny it for secret.
Is this the one that was before us already? Which-
Building or buildings.
This is
They
what
were
had all
before,
the,
yeah, before,
all the
okay.
front yard lot,
Yeah.
and we
And,
granted the variance to,
And they interpret.
And lot
Yeah.
line, what was it? There was another fun thing about that.
yeah, it was all the setbacks as to what do you
Yeah.
measure the,
Yeah, community shopping center.
so now they're coming
right.
in for new variances.
I'm just letting you know, because we didn't get the materials yet, but, and the public hearing is coming up, so if you want to attend the public hearing, I guess.
No, but I would like to see the DEIS. Okay.
Sure. Do you want a copy? It's a big binder. I mean, I'll give it
Well,
to you,
it's an
or I'll
electronic
give it.
form, right?
I get, okay, so on the Village of Monroe website, where it says, hold on, I can show you right here. I can show you exactly where it is. So if you go to the Village of Monroe website,
Can you email it to me? Or is it too big?
it's too big. You don't
You
even
won't
want
go
to
on
know.
an email?
Go to boards, go to planning board.
Maybe you can email him a link?
Well, the links
No,
are on the
It's on the
website.
Dropbox. Oh, it's on the
No,
website?
Right.
Okay.
So over here, we now have a new tab on the planning board section called projects. And if you click on projects, there's the documents. So they're right there. I mean, they're available for anybody to look at. They are big. I mean, printed, it's a 4-inch binder, or 5-inch binder filled.
Just wondering what variances they needed.
They don't need any variances. I think you're just an interested agency.
Right, and that's what I'm here to say, is we're an interested agency. I'm not saying that they need variances. Yes.
So if
There's-
there's something that's needed from this board, then you would be involved, but if
Right.
they don't need any, then you would just be interested.
Yeah, I just wanted to let them know because before the next meeting,
If they
this
have
is
any
gonna have a
comments on
public,
the hearing, yes.
so, just so everybody's aware.
Okay.
All right?
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Anybody else got anything?
Nope.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I,
Sure, we're adjourned at, what time is that? 8:50?
8:50, or does my phone?
Close enough. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Just don't think that.
Thank you, I
Law was very
appreciate
well
that.
drafted if it didn't address
Okay, just
situations
shut
like
down.
this.
I don't want to go through all the
I don't think that
updates.
FAR law was very well drafted.